Contrary to popular belief, I have gone this long with knowing about Flash vertical velocity, and yet I have never made an analysis video on this attraction. Ain't that something? What's going on, guys? It's Arkham here, and I'm here to break down Flash vertical velocity. That is going to be the brand new roller coaster opening at Six Flags Great Adventure in 2025. Most likely opening day, if not maybe a week or two after. They haven't really confirmed that as of the making of this video, but all we know about this ride right now is that it is located in Metropolis. It's called Flash Vertical Velocity. It's been testing, it's already been built. They're working on some other stuff around the ride, and that's just about all we got right now. But outside that, today I want to break down this ride a little bit more, talk a little bit about the layout, talk what I think this ride is going to accomplish for this park in terms of its needs, as well as some other things as well that makes this ride unique from the other roller coasters at Great Adventure. So let's break down and analyze Flash Vertical Velocity at Six Flags Great Adventure.
Now get ready. Here we go.
First things first, let's talk about some statistics and where you can access this ride. This ride is located in the Metropolis section of the park. It is most likely going to end up being the first ride that you come across when you enter the Metropolis section of the park on the right-hand side. You see this ride essentially as you are walking up to enter the park, so it already gives you a bit of anticipation throughout the day. And I think as this ride is going to constantly keep running throughout the day, it's really going to help just liven up the front entrance a little bit more as you see this roller coaster zooming right past by. It is a multi-launching Vekoma coaster. It is classified as a super boomerang, which is sort of a different take on the traditional boomerangs that Vekoma used to make. That used to involve just a standard cobra roll within a vertical loop. They go up a spike, and then they go back down doing the same thing. But rather than using chain lifts, they instead use LSM launches. So this is a launched roller coaster that is coming to this park. Originally, this ride was planned to open in 2024, but as this ride was a last minute addition, vertical construction really never began until around early March. And by that point, there was really just no way that this ride was ever going to open on time. And then we got the news back in August and September that this ride was going to get pushed back to 2025, thus making things a little bit easier for the crews to work towards and get this thing ready for opening day, which so happens to fit very well with the Cedar Fair way. So let's get more into the stats of this ride. So the length is 1,430 feet of track. It has a top speed of 59 miles per hour, which is achieved after the third launch. The ride has 2 inversions. However, you go through those inversions twice. So technically, you can label it and say that there are 4 inversions on the ride. And according to what it says here, it says that you hit a G-force of about 4. We don't know if that's exactly true or not. We know they've been testing the G-forces with an actual rider on it in the park. Outside that, we don't know the full story of the G-forces. I'm going to assume it's 4 based off of what it says on RCDB, but who exactly knows from there. So when you board your train, which these trains light up at night, which is going to be super, super cool. You're looking at the footage right now of when I recorded this on Halloween, when it first started testing at night. And might I say, the lights at night look so, so good. It's going to really stand out in the park skyline. Very much so when you see a train just zooming right by with all those lights on. It has its own light package and it has its own onboard audio. So they're actually playing the track to the Flash theme from the TV show that I thoroughly enjoyed watching that TV show. So hearing that theme as you're going through the entire layout and going backwards is really, really cool. And they've even timed a lot of the instances together, such as how it goes up the spike and back down. The lights sort of follow that pattern, as well, seeming like there might be a little bit more storytelling elements to this ride, which is going to make it very, very interesting. And again, knowing that Cedar Fair really likes to incorporate theming and a little bit of a story now with their newer attractions, this is definitely a ride that I think they're going to really fall in love with, even though it might not be exactly the ride that most people, especially enthusiasts and GP, would have exactly wanted this ride to be. So let's talk about the actual ride itself. It's one train with 6 cars. It could fit 24 riders total, which is not a very bad number at all. It's just the problem is that there's only one train to work with. So if some issue happens with the train, they have to close down that row or they have to close down that seat, and you got to work with one less thing until the next day. So that obviously is a little bit of a scary part of using only one train for this ride. So we'll have to wait and see how it exactly runs. This ride is unfortunately a clone, continuing the trend of Six Flags Clone Adventure, as I deem to joke around and say. But this clone in particular is actually on the opposite side of the planet in China at a park that I honestly am going to botch, so I'm not going to say it. But it is located at a park in China. It is called Cloud Shuttle, if I'm pretty sure. It's an exact clone of that, minus a couple of other details that Cloud Shuttle has compared to Flash. Flash is going to have an indoor queue, and it's also going to be using, from what it seems like from a lot of footage, they're going to be using the queue that Cyborg Cyberspin used to have, and it seems like the front entrance might also get moved to be exactly where Cyborg's entrance was. So a little bit of a change from what we have seen before from the first POV video that Great Adventure dropped. Now, as for the layout, the floors drop on either side of you once you board your train. You advance forward up the Immelman, you head backwards, you go up the spike backwards, 90 degrees facing down, and then you zoom forward, which I presume afterwards would be the third launch, where you hit 59 miles per hour. Meanwhile, the track for the Flash theme is just blasting in your ears during this whole thing. And if it's at night, you'll probably even get a little bit of the glare of those lights whizzing right next to you as well. You go into this very much intriguing Immelman. It's a stalled Immelman. So basically what that entails is that you go up, you are upside down, and you hang almost like a stall, and then you rotate back around. Surprisingly, this is the only stall Immelman, or this is just the only Immelman in general that Great Adventure has right now. So it's already a very unique inversion in that sense. So I love the sort of variety with this inversion now that the park has an Immelman. After that, you go through a double up after a LSM boost. So this will be launch number 4. After the double up, you hit this sort of Raven turn. It doesn't take you upside down. It's more of like just a way to turn the train around. And then you go into what is deemed to be a corkscrew, but all the enthusiasts, including myself, have deemed this the Chiller Roll. And if you've ever heard of Batman and Robin the Chiller before, that ride that used to be at the park, which is where Justice League is now, used to have an element on it across both of those trains, which was basically this inline corkscrew twist. They had removed that element, and then a couple years after, they closed one side, and then the whole entire thing came crashing down because it just started to get unreliable. So, a lot of people have felt that this inversion here seems very similar to what the Chiller used to have, so we have just called it the Chiller Roll, and I think it's a great way to pay homage to a past attraction, and I think that's what Flash really does well here, but we'll dive into that a little bit later. After that, you go back up the same spike that you went in, but then you do the whole thing backwards. So you go through the Chiller Roll backwards, you hit the launch that takes you back up to the wave turn, so that's launch number 6. Now the double up becomes a double down, but you take that backwards, which is already going to provide a very awesome sensation of airtime. Then you hit launch number 7, which takes you back into the stalled Immelman, but it more or less becomes more like a Raven dive loop sort of thing now that you're going backwards. And then you take your and then the train slows down as you enter the station. Definitely a lot of unique things about this roller coaster. Again, the lighting package at night is going to make this probably the most eye candy attraction in the park. The beacon lighting up with the Flash symbol on it, also lighting up at night, is really, really awesome to see. The theming is going to be very interesting. I'm very curious to see what they do with the theming, especially with the indoor queue that they have and what exactly that's going to entail. They are going to have double-sided lockers, which is going to be awesome. They're going to be free double-sided lockers. It'll work the exact same way that it works at El Toro. So you would basically get a card or you scan your season pass essentially, and on this thing on the screen, and then they would open up a locker for you. You put your loose articles in, and then you go inside the indoor queue and you essentially wait for your turn to ride. So I really love that they have this, and it's really, really cool to see. A couple of downsides with the ride. Number one is going to be capacity. I think a lot of people already know about that. I kind of knew capacity was not going to be the greatest thing ever with this ride. I've kind of learned to figure out that shuttle coasters in the next couple of years are going to probably be the big meta for what a lot of parks are going to go with to try to reserve money. So I don't exactly know if that's going to affect a lot of the other Six Flags parks in particular. This one, knowing that they have this coaster and what 2026 might end up being, I know there's going to be a couple of stretches with that one. Obviously, because of that, the lines are going to be very, very long, with this ride essentially being the first roller coaster that you will see the entrance for at the park. This ride's probably going to get the longest line, and it's going to be that way for a very, very long time. I don't ever unsee that changing, even when this new 2026 multi-record breaking launch coaster opens. But who exactly knows? Outside of that, there really isn't much else to discuss with Flash Vertical Velocity. It looks to be a very intriguing ride. I don't know exactly where it would place in the list of roller coasters that this park has. Definitely top 10. It could be top 5. I'm not too sure. I haven't ridden a Vekoma this thrilling outside of like Tron, which is kind of a sad thought to think about, but it should be very interesting nonetheless to see how this ride performs compared to the other B&M siblings that this ride gets to share with. So let me know, what are your thoughts on Flash Vertical Velocity at Six Flags Great Adventure? And as soon as I get down there for the 2025 season, we will be able to cover this ride a lot more and hopefully have a review out later on. But that is my full analysis of Flash Vertical Velocity at Six Flags Great Adventure. Let me know what you think of the ride. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and always thank your ride operators. Have an amazing rest of your day. I'll see you all in the parks real soon. Goodbye.
Here we go.
Park 10. Head back. Park 10. Head back.
Here we go.